Welcome back to the Company Show. We tell like it is and we don't care how you feel. And we have another 2026 schedule preview prediction breakdown video to get today. I've already done a handful, the majority of the other SEC teams. So if you are curious about that, want to check those out, go to my channel. They'll be there. But today we got the Tennessee Volunteers to get to. What did they do last season? Well, 2025, they went 8-5 overall, 4-4 in the SEC. Very much so a step back year for Josh Heupel. He's been really good, probably one of the best Tennessee head coach that they have had in recent history, in recent years. So very much a step back year. Now, I will say that 8-4 season is probably the worst we're going to see under Josh Heupel. So a little bit of a step back year. They had a tough home loss against my Dogs, 44-41. There was a time towards the end of that game where I was like, we just lost to Tennessee. That was a stressful game. But Georgia found a way to pull it through. Tennessee misses the field goal. They lose at home to Georgia, 44-41. They also took L's against Bama, Oklahoma, Vandy, who was really good last year. I think Vandy takes a big step back. And then also they did make their way to a bowl game where they lost to Illinois in the Music City Bowl. So that's a little bit of last season. What do they have returning this year? Well, they have 13 returning starters, some very good pieces. Defense, we'll talk about the defense side. They have Arian Carter, linebacker, returning, probably the key feature in that defensive side of the ball. And he does have a 2-game suspension from the NCAA, and I think it's absolutely bullshit. I think it's stupid. He declared for the NFL draft, put his name in there, had a little bit of a injury situation where he felt like, hey, it's better for me to rehab, go back to college, have one more year, and then put my name in for the draft next year. He withdrew his name and the appropriate before the deadline, paid back all the fees that were due, and still yet he was given a 2-game suspension by the NCAA. And I just think it's dumb. This is another reason why the NCAA has lost all credibility, why no one takes him serious, why everyone seems to just basically forget that they exist because of things like this. It seems throughout the past that the things that they should care about, they don't really care about, and the things that they shouldn't, they really care about. So it's dumb. It's dumb. He's got a 2-game suspension. I don't think Tennessee is going to miss him in the first 2 games, but he is back. He also got Jeremiah Telander, linebacker as well. He had a really good year last year. He's coming off an 80-tackle campaign. Very great. He's one of those players that where you could not be a fan of Tennessee. Don't know much about the Volunteers, much about the program, who plays for them. But if you turn the game on and you listen to the commentary, he is one of those players that you will know by the end of that game that Jeremiah Telander plays for Tennessee because he is always being mentioned. He is always in the action somewhere. So he's really good. I think those are going to be 2 very key contributing players for this defense. What do you got for offense? Well, you got some of the O-line coming back. I think this O-line for Tennessee is going to be very good, which they're going to really need to be able to rely on because you've got no official starting quarterback. Tennessee does not have, at this moment, they have not named a starting quarterback. Now we are just in the beginning of fall camp, so I'm sure we will learn who the starting quarterback is going to be for Tennessee within the next couple of weeks. The season starts in 30 days for Tennessee. So the time I'm making this video, their first game is in 30 days. So I'm sure we will find out soon who the starting quarterback is going to be. But at this moment, we don't know. It is I guess you can call it a 3-way battle for the starting quarterback between redshirt freshman George McIntyre. He does have a little bit of experience last year in this system. True freshman, 5-star true freshman. Faison Brandon, he had a really good high school career, obviously 5-star, but he has no starting experience in college. And then you got the Colorado transfer, Ryan Staub. So those are your three players that are battling it out for the starting quarterback position. We don't know yet who it's going to be. If you were to ask me, I would probably say George MacIntyre because he does have experience at the college level. So does Ryan Staub, but he's at least got experience with this Tennessee team from last year. Very minimal, but he still has some. I looked at their spring game, the quarterbacks, because what I was really interested in was what these quarterbacks were able to do. They were just okay. You look at their stats, you look at their numbers in the spring game, there's nothing special. MacIntyre, he went 15 of 22, 122 yards. Faison Brandon, probably the worst numbers of them all, 6 of 16, so completion percentage pretty bad. He only had 36 yards in the air. But, however, he was able to tuck the ball and run it a little more, so he featured his legs a lot more than the other two. And then the Colorado transfer, Ryan Staub, 7 of 13, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. So he kind of had the better of the day, if you're to ask me. But it is a spring game. So take those numbers with a grain of salt. I think if I was a betting man, I would put my money on George MacIntyre being the starter for this Tennessee team. But for all we know, it could be a trio. It could be a duo that they could swap for whoever they want. Maybe if they're in this kind of situation, they have George MacIntyre in, or if they really need to do more of a dual threat quarterback scheme, they have the true freshman Faison Brandon in it. We have no idea. So that's a little bit about last year. That's a little bit about what they have returning and what's new in the system. What are my questions for this Tennessee Volunteer going into the 2026 season? Well, for starters, is can they bounce back from last season performance? It was very much a step back last year. I think Josh Heupel is a very good head coach, and this is his worst season, except for his first. You give him credit with any coach in their first year, but this is their worst season. 8-5 overall. Can they rebound from last year and get a little bit more momentum, have a better record at the end of the 2026 season? Can they make the playoff? That is my number one question for this Tennessee Volunteer team is, can they improve from last year? Second question, can they figure out the quarterback situation? I just talked about it. That's what everyone's wondering. If Tennessee cannot get a solidified, really good quarterback, they're going to struggle. They've got a lot of tough games coming up, which we'll get to soon. If they don't have a bona fide, solid starting quarterback, it's going to be a long season for the Volunteers. And my third question for this Tennessee Volunteer team going into this season is, how far can the defense get this Tennessee team if the offense cannot figure it out? Let's say worst comes to worst, none of these 3 quarterback prospects are able to really get in the groove, really able to step out among the rest and lead this offense to where it needs to go. There's just struggles across the board. How far can this defense get this Tennessee Volunteer team? Because I do think they're going to have a good defense, but it's only going to get them so far. So that's what they have. That's what happened last year. That's what they have returning. That's what's new coming to this season. Let's jump to their schedule. What I'm going to do is run through their schedule, say who they're playing and when they're playing, and then I'm going to give my takeaways about the schedule and then give my prediction. So, obviously, they kick things off on September the 5th against Furman. You'll win that game. After Furman, they do go on the road on September 12th to take on Georgia Tech. So not my Bulldogs, but you're taking on the Yellow Jackets in Atlanta there on September 12th. That is a road game for you. After the Georgia Tech game, you are back home on September 19th. Another Georgia team, not far from Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, the Owls. I was just there earlier today. After Kennesaw State, you stay at home on September 26th to take on Texas. Very huge home game for you there. After the Texas game, and now you're in October 3rd, you stay at home to take on Auburn. After Auburn, you do travel on the road on October 10th to take on Arkansas. And then back home on October 17th in the third Saturday of October, the big game, big rival game there, Alabama. You do get them at home. That is a very important game. After Alabama, you got to go on the road on October 24th to take on South Carolina. And then on Halloween, October 31st, you do get a bye week, a very much needed bye week at this point in the schedule. Coming out of your bye week on November 7th, you are staying at home at Kentucky. You got Kentucky at home. Then on November 14th, you got to go on the road to take on Texas A&M. And on November 21st, you're back home to take on LSU and Lane Kiffin. I think that's going to be a really good game. And then, as always, to round out your regular season, on November 28th, you got to travel on the road to take on Vandy, the Vanderbilt Commodores. So that is your schedule. What is my takeaway? Well, for starters, this is a very manageable road schedule. You look at where you like your home games versus your away games. This is probably one of the easiest road schedule in the SEC. I've done all of the SEC. I've already made all my notes for every SEC team. I've got 2 more videos after Tennessee to make. This is one of the easiest road schedule games that I've seen in the SEC. You go on the road to take on Georgia Tech. I do not think Georgia Tech is a threat. I think they take a step back this year. So in the SEC, you got to go on the road in Arkansas. You'll win there. You got to go on the road to South Carolina. I think that can be a very tricky game, especially considering it comes after Alabama, but still, it's South Carolina. You got to go on the road to Texas A&M, so that is by far your toughest road game there. And then at the end of the year, you got to go on the road at Vandy. I do think Vandy takes a big step back from last season. So very manageable road schedule. If you do not go at least 4-1, bare minimum 4-1 in your road games, I think it's a failure of a season. You very well could go 5-0 in all of your road games. If you go worse than 4-1 in your road games, it's a letdown. It plain is. There's no reason why you should go worse than that. Second takeaway is kind of building off the last one is your toughest games are at home. All 3 of your toughest games actually are at home. Texas, you get them at home. I think Texas is going to be really good this year. You get them at home. Alabama, I do think Alabama takes a step back this season. You get them at home. I was a little bit higher on Alabama 2 months ago when I made their video. I made the Alabama preview video about 2 months ago. I was a lot higher on them then than I am now. The more that I've got to see practice, the more that I've kind of like looked at everyone's schedule and we've gotten closer to the season, I've kind of stepped back on how good I think Alabama is going to be. But still, it's a rival game. It's the Tennessee-Alabama game. You get them at home. And then LSU, who I think is going to be really good, as much as it pains me to say, because I really dislike his character in Lane Kiffin, I think LSU is going to be really good this year. You get them at home. Your 3 toughest games, you get all of them at home. How many of those can you win? Can you win all 3? It's going to be a big challenge, especially with we don't even know who your quarterback is. Can you at least win 2? We'll find out. So 3 toughest games you get at home. And one of my final takeaways from the schedule is you've got 3 very important key games on the schedule. Obviously, Bama comes without saying. That is an important game. You want to beat Bama. I think that the second important game, key game to focus on, which may surprise some Tennessee fans, is the road game at South Carolina. The reason being is that I think South Carolina, at this point, depending on what they do in the season, they might not even have their head coach, Shane Beamer. He could be fired at this point in the season. But the fact that it's a road game and where it lays on the schedule, it's after Alabama. So you could either have an emotional win or an emotional loss against Alabama, and then you got to immediately travel on the road to take on South Carolina, and that is not in the easiest place to play, especially in the beginning of the game when those fans are into it. When South Carolina fans are into the game, that is a difficult place to play. So I think that is a very key game for this Tennessee Volunteer. And the last key game, besides Bama, South Carolina, that I think is one of the most important, is on the road at Texas A&M. At this point in the season, this is your third to last game of the regular season. Depending on what games you have won and lost and what games Texas A&M has won and lost, this very much could be a playoff contention game. I mean, Tennessee could be sitting with 2 losses. Texas A&M could also be sitting at 2 losses coming into this game. You lose 3 games, you're most likely kicked out. So the fact that it's a road game makes it even more challenging. Now, if Tennessee is able to go on the road and beat Texas A&M and they finish their regular season at 10-2 or better, you're making the playoffs. So those are the 3, to me, the 3 biggest games on this Tennessee schedule. So that's my takeaways. What is the floor for this Tennessee Volunteer team? Well, if you're a Vol fan, you're not going to like it, but the floor is 6-6. I do think that we are past the days where we see Tennessee going 5-7, 4-8, hell, even 6-6. I did just say that the floor is 6-6, but there's a lot of tough games on the schedule, and the fact that we don't even know who your starting quarterback is, you very well could go 6-6. Do I think you go 6-6? No. But that's the floor. That is the absolute, everything goes wrong. Wheels fall off the bus. Quarterback does not work out. The defense is struggling. I think you go 6-6 on your absolute worst. What's the ceiling for this Tennessee team? I think 10-2. I think it is very possible that you could come out and go 10-2 with the schedule. If you got a quarterback, if one of these 3 quarterbacks works, they have a great year, the defense is as good as I think they're going to be, I think that the Tennessee Volunteer team could finish the 2026 regular season sitting at 10-2. What is my prediction? I think that you go 8-4. I think it's another letdown season. I think it's kind of a repeat from last year. I think that you have struggle at the quarterback situation. I think you probably start with McIntyre, and by the end of the season, you're fully on Faison Brandon. Now, I really do like him. I think he is going to be really good for this program. I think given it going into next year and maybe the season after that, you really rely on him. But I think there's just so many questions that I have for this Tennessee team, specifically on offense. And the way some of these games that you have, I think it's going to be a struggle bus. I think you go 8-4. I think you lose to Texas. I think you go on the road and lose to Texas A&M. And I think you do lose to LSU at home. But I think you beat Bama. I think you get a huge win against Alabama at home. But I think you go on the road to lose South Carolina. Now, you very well could beat South Carolina. If I'm smart and I'm a betting man, I would take you to lose against Bama and then go on the road to beat South Carolina. But I've got you beating Bama. I think Bama takes a step back. I think it's a huge win for you this year. But I think given the fact of where that South Carolina game is and the fact that it comes immediately after the Bama game, I think you trip up there. If you can find a way to beat Alabama and then go on the road and beat South Carolina, I think it's very possible that you finish 9-3 and you might have a small chance of making the college football playoffs. But I think the Tennessee Volunteers finished the 2026 regular season sitting at 8-4 with losses to Texas, at South Carolina, at Texas A&M, and against LSU at home. You make another good, fun maybe the Music City Bowl again. Who knows? But you do make the playoff, or you do make a bowl game, miss out on the playoffs, and a little bit of a step back here again. But that's my thoughts. That's my opinions. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, if I'm right, if I'm wrong. But Tennessee Volunteers going 8-4. Other than that, over and out.